I'm in the midst of creating a new WordPress theme for a site called I Love Archie. And so far I've managed to take static HTML and divide it up into header.php and footer.php, and I've taken the PHP code saying that I wanted a sidebar and I've plopped it right here. And the sidebar is where your widgets primarily populate. And so all is good. I'm able to, everything works and shows up where it's supposed to, but I'm not very happy with the look. And in fact, I'm not happy with the look here, and I'm not happy with the look in the sidebar. So at this point, I need to create some CSS rules to decide what these should look like. And that's actually not as easy as creating rules for static HTML, because I don't know what WordPress structure is sitting here. I don't really know what this is. I'm not sure how this is coded. So I'm going to use Firebug in Firefox to help determine what those rules should be. So I'm going to turn Firebug on. And you could do the same thing in Chrome, but just more comfortable using Firefox. Okay, so I'm going to take my inspection tool and hover over the word welcome. And as I look down in the code, I'm more concerned about the code now than the styling. As I look down in the code, I can see welcome, and it's surrounded by an H2 tag. So I know that an H2 tag is really the the main driving force for the look behind this. But if I inspect Hello World, I also notice there's an H2 tag around that. So you need to be careful. You need to be more specific when you write some of these rules, because I don't want both welcome, about Archie, and Hello World to all share the same look. So coming back over to welcome, I know it needs to be H2, but I need to be more specific. So I'm going to go to the next line up. And I know it's really hard for you to see in the movie, and I can't zoom in on this, so my apologies. But in the code, the next line right before that says div ID equals text4. Now, the text4, I'm just kind of telling you, is brought in dynamically. So you're not going to be able to write a rule called ID text4, because that's not something that might stick around for long. You might switch out that widget, and then it might say text 8. So eliminate that from possibilities. So let's move then into where it says div ID text4 space class equals widget text. Now widget and widget text are both classes, and they're separate classes, and they're just separated by a space. So you can actually declare more than one class for any particular rule. So I'm going to choose the latter, the widget underscore text. That's going to be the specific class that I'm going to attach to the H2 tag. Now I know that sounds confusing. Let me try to reiterate that. So I know it's an H2, but more specifically, it's an H2 that happens to be associated with a class called widget underscore text. So with all of that, now it's kind of trial and experimentation. I'm going to open up the style sheet. Now I only have one style sheet, style.css. And I happen to be working in Dreamweaver, but that's not a requirement. So I'm going to create a rule. And of course, because my memory is that of a gnat, I've already forgotten what the name of that needs to be. Widget underscore text. Okay, widget underscore text. So it's a class, so it does need to start out with a period. Widget underscore text. That's the class. And then now the specific item is H2. I'm just gonna, I'm not even caring so much right now about what the decisions are. I'm just going to put a few things. Usually I will pop in a different color. So I have a color of just some ridiculous lime green, and then kind of an over-the-top size. something dramatic, so I'm sure if I have not targeted the correct rule. So period, widget underscore text, space, H2. So if I have something with a class of widget text and it happens to be an H2, hopefully, fingers crossed, it will take on these properties. So I'm working on my live files on the server. So I need to save my style.css and I need to upload. Okay, so I'm going to come back to Firefox and refresh my screen. Woo! Okay, well, it's ugly, but hey, that's what I was looking for. But what happened to About Archie? Isn't that also an H2? And inspect, yep, that's also an H2, but its class is called widget underscore pages, which is actually kind of cool because you may want two different looks. But if I wanted those to be the same, let me just show you remind you of some trickery here. So I have widget underscore text H2, but maybe I also want to share the same properties, widget underscore pages H2. And all I have to do is separate those two different declarations with the comma. And if it's a widget underscore text H2 or widget underscore pages H2, it will share the same properties. And let's just dial down that size a little bit. That was a little dramatic. Save that. Upload the file. Go back to Firefox and refresh. Okay, so now both of these have been targeted by the same properties. Only these, nothing, no other H2s are going to be affected in my site. And really the same will follow suit for all of the other, it's just identifying what the rules are and what containers are holding them. So let's just quickly talk about this list. There's a whole, set of movies that you can watch about creating lists. So I'm not going to get too specific about that, but I'll write the rules quickly for how to make this list look better. But first I need to kind of investigate what rules I need to write. So I know it's a list, so I have the typical UL, LI, A into the mix. But I also need to just take a peek here. Come on, I have to kind of reset this. Let me reload. It seems to be stuck on that little block of text here. All right. I need to be able to see. More of my code. Okay, here we go. Sorry about the delay. Again, just kind of backtracking, and I know it's hard to know what is brought in dynamically from WordPress and what are actual sort of pieces of the code that you can attach styles to. So I guess just be willing to experiment. And here's kind of a key. If I look in my code and it says class page item page 24, if there's ever a number in there, that's something that's brought in dynamically. So don't write a rule around that. So let's see, it's part of a list. Pages 4, div ID pages 4, I can't use that. Here's my widget again and widget pages. So I know widget pages was a class that I can use, so I'm going to try that. Okay, so, oops, let me get to a better spot. So if I have a class called widget pages and it has a list, I'm going to have all of the margin and all of the padding kind of zero out, making sure that I have semicolons and the appropriate brackets. If I have widget underscore pages with a list and it has a list item in it, this is the rule that you would say list style type, and that's, you know, the bullet point, square, open circle, what have you. I don't want any. And that's it for properties there. It's the next property, the next rule that I'm writing. So widget underscore pages, if there's a list with a list item and it's a link, this is where kind of the meat of the look comes in. So let's target a color. I'll just pick something, again, fairly obnoxious so I can see if it worked or not. I also do not want the underline. I think it's pretty clear that these are links, so text decoration, none. These are all just personal decisions that I'm making. I'm going to choose display block just so that I can kind of push these around with margin and padding. And they did feel a little bit close to that left edge if memory serves. So I'm going to say margin left. We'll push those in like 20 pixels. Okay, so just a typical list writing sequence. I haven't put in, you know, the visited and the hover and all of that, but I really just want to get a start. But the key is trying to identify the kind of the parent class or the parent ID so you can get really specific about what rules you're targeting. I'm going to save, upload, refresh. All right. So it's ugly, and I knew that it would be ugly, but at least I have rules now that I can go back and edit, and that's the main thing. And as you continue on through your styling, you know, the same. If you know that this is an H2 tag, but it's in a class called content, so you could write dot content space H2 and have this take on a different look. So use Firefox, use Firebug, do some investigation, write some rules, and be willing to experiment. If you wrote a rule and it didn't affect anything, then you might have to plug in some other class names or ID names just to see if it will work. But be patient. It's all can be changed, and the good news is you can do just about anything with styles that you need to do.